Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I am your host, Will, aka Cybersmily. Whoa, hold on. Tales from the Forlorn Dopes. I am your host, Will,
We
aka
doing okay over there?
Yeah. Hold on. It's my own thing, so you can introduce yourself. I just need to fix something.
We doing okay over there?
Yeah.
I am your co-host, Wisdom000, aka Derek Bernier. I am of Datafortress2020 fame, and my friend Will over here, he is the Cybersmily Datafortress guy.
Yeah, and we'd like to give a thanks to Cyberpunk Uncensored for hosting us. You can visit his site at www.cyberpunkuncensored.com, and you already know about him because he's hosting us, and we thank him for that. So I think we want to. So we're going to continue our review of Cyberpunk 2077. But before we start that, I think the big news happened on Monday with Artal Sorian's release of the homebrew content policy that came out. So, Derek, if you want to give your opinion first, and then I can follow you up on that.
I mean, I think it's good that they're throwing that out there. It gives the creators permission to play, uh, and publish the things that they've played. Not in a professional sense, but online. They can throw it out there and they can share it without any fear of repercussion. I mean, most of it's been common sense for the entirety of like the cyberpunk web presence. There, as far as the game goes, anyway. Um, I didn't see anything in there that was problematic in the slightest. Like I said, it's all just common sense stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
when I was reading through some of the details, the quoting, and I think I probably have one or two things that I probably need to re-engineer. Specifically, I think my combat zone utility that will generate an event. I think that has a little too much copyrighted material that I just need to summarize as opposed to having it
really, I didn't
verbatim.
see.
Well, I think I might have just to quickly get it out because I created it last year, so I was basically pushing out something every month. So I might have just did a quick copy paste just to get something out there. But yeah, that I'm going to
I
take care of
don't.
soon.
Okay. I mean, most of it just boils down to don't try and pass your work off as official Talsorian product
Yep.
or in any. Yeah, I mean, and that's just like I said, it's just common sense. Don't make their logo bigger than your logo.
Yeah.
Don't present it as cyberpunk red blah blah blah. Present it as blah 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 to be used in conjunction with cyberpunk red or whatever. I mean, just it's good.
Yeah. And I think the best thing about it is it's now posted and visible, and everyone knows what the rules are exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know.
I mean, it's not OGL,
Right.
which would have been beautiful, but it's as good as it gets for amateurs like us who are just trying to put out content for people to use.
Yeah, because I often see a lot of new content, and it's always that question of, are we stepping on RTG's IP, or what is
Yeah.
that? What is that line? And I think this kind of gives a clear version of it, which is great.
Well, I mean, 2077's got so much bootleg material out there that I think that's what they're trying to avoid.
Yeah. All right. So let's head into speaking of Cyberpunk 2077. Let's head into it. So this session we're going to do a. The topic of the night is the missions, and just talking through the various
Ooh
missions
boy.
that are out there. So basically, I kind of broke them down into the beginning missions. So all the beginning missions specifically for each role. Then you have your main missions, right, to complete the overall arching quests. You have your side missions, the gigs, the police reports, and then I think at the end we'll talk about the four endings, as it were. So let's get started with the beginning missions. So like I said, my first playthrough was with the Street Kid. So that, and FYI to anybody who's watching, there's definitely going to be spoilers.
Oh, spoilers galore,
Go here.
galore.
Exactly. So if you guys want to keep things sacred and fresh for you, I would say just maybe watch this afterwards.
Come back and listen to us when you're done.
Exactly. So with this Street Kid, basically it was the mission in which you kind of help out the bartender at the Coyote,
Yeah.
and kind of pay off his debt by going and stealing a car, and that's where you get to meet Jackie.
You also you get to meet Padre earlier there too.
Yep. Oh, and and that was one of the more interesting things is so that guy or that 6th Street ganger who eventually or pulls Padre over and starts talking shit to him. You actually find him later in a side alley, killed.
Yeah.
And I forget which legendary items there, but it's not marked on the map as like any side quest or anything like that. It's one of those hidden little gems you find.
Yeah. It wasn't Skippy, but it was almost the same setup.
Yeah. Then there was the corporate one, which is you kind of
I really liked the corporate one.
yeah. It was nice to just, hey, you get to drive in an AV, you get champagne while you're going places.
Yeah, you get to live the high life.
For just a few minutes. Then it comes all boiling
Sadly,
down.
That was my biggest problem with the corporate beginning is it's so much shorter than the others. Like, it's over before you even get to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think the introduction of Jackie being, a previous friend of yours was an interesting twist as well, compared to the other two.
Yeah, it felt a little weird, like why would you be hanging out with the street thug? But, I mean, why not? A contact is a contact, and Jackie's a contact.
Yeah, and I think the relationship that sparked from the Street Kid in which, you're trying to steal a car, he comes in and tries to steal it from you, and you get basically beat up by the police, and then it's like, oh, yeah, guess what? You guys are friends now.
That was perfect. That was Cyberpunk Introduction 101 right there. It wasn't my favorite intro, but man, did it tick every box you want to see in a Cyberpunk. Like, if you were playing the game as a tabletop, that's about how it'd go down.
Yep. And then you had the Nomad, and I've only played that
That's
once.
the one, baby.
So I'll let you give your feedback on that.
The best part about the Nomad is you get to before it really starts, even you get to run around in a world that is a fairly large area of the map that afterwards becomes completely inaccessible. So if you're playing the Nomad, be sure to explore that area completely. It's not like there's anything special to find, but you'll never get to do it again. So enjoy it while it lasts. The dynamic between you meeting Jackie, it's interesting. I like it. It's weird to see Jackie playing a fixer role compared to how he acts later on, but it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was the better of the three because it kind of, it showed you, hey, nomads are disrespected in the beginning, right? When you're in the garage trying to fix it, and the mechanic's like, yeah, giving you the runaround, and then the sheriff comes in and kind of gives that old west type of feel,
Get out of my town! Don't be here by sundown.
And then the border crossing.
I also like the fact that the mission that you're undertaking is fairly ridiculous, which is about par for the course for Cyberpunk.
Yeah. When you come to find out,
I'm not gonna just. Yeah, you're transporting a lizard. Now, I mean, that's cool. it's a nice shout out to Blade Runner. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Like, is that lizard real? Oh my god!
Yeah, and then having what was it, 3 or 4 Arasaka SUVs chasing you down and throwing in a gunfight
Over a lizard.
over a lizard.
And then you see one later in the game at a key pivotal moment, and you're like, hey, I remember you.
Yeah.
The lizard doesn't care though. He's still just a lizard.
Yeah, I thought that one was probably the best because I think it had the most kind of content in it, right?
Yeah, it lasts the longest. You get a better. I also think the nomad way to bring you into the city is the best way to do it because you're discovering everything as your character is. Whereas if you're playing the street kid or the corporate, well, you already live in Night City. You know all this shit. None of this should be new information to you.
Yep. So.
But for the nomad, yeah, it's all foreign. That's the best way you can possibly get to know the city.
Yep. All right, moving on to the main missions. So, I don't know if we want to tackle that first or go into all the little side missions and gigs and all those.
I mean, they're intertwined, so
yeah, true.
We can just talk about the ones that we really dig. And the thing is you're not going to hear me complain about any of this stuff because I love all the missions. There was not a one that I didn't have a good time doing.
Yep. So, main mission was basically the setup for the heist. I think.
Yeah.
I think the pickup. I think prior to the heist, I think those missions actually have outcomes later within the game. There are a few side missions that kind of have different alternative endings and kind of play into the main mission, but I think the ones leading up to the heist really impact it because what you do in when you're dealing with Maelstrom. Go ahead.
This is going to sound negative, but it's not. Those first missions were what they used to advertise the game like 2 years before it was released. And I think that kind of locked them into, well, that's how these missions have to play out.
Yep.
They have to have, these choices because we've already shown them to have them. Now, they still remove some of those choices, which is a major bummer. But yeah, the game, the missions themselves are still a blast.
Well, I mean, some of them do lead into, there's kind of 3 different outcomes.
I mean, that's where you meet the Moxies, which lead you into the whole, Evelyn. That introduces you to Judy later and the whole Evelyn side quest. That's where you meet, like you said, that's where you meet Maelstrom, and they become important later on, especially in relation to, there's 2 different sides you can take when fighting the Maelstrom.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 3. You can technically kill everybody, but that won't help you in the end.
Well, I mean, to me, Maelstrom gave you the most choices when you started to deal with Royce, right? So, you could have gone to Militech, gotten the chip, hacked the chip, give him the chip, right? And he gets paid off.
Yeah.
You can pay him
tell them
off.
that there's a virus on the chip, and they're like, oh. Or you can just kill them all.
Yeah, and you don't tell them there's a virus, and that's when you get to kill them all. Or then you just blow or just shoot Royce right in the head immediately, which has a drastic different outcome through that quest, right? Because now, yes, you're dealing with the lower guys, but you don't have that big mob or boss fight at the end when you're trying to escape.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing.
And you the later in the story when you're doing the carry uridine thing.
Yep.
That changes dramatically as well, especially in terms of the iconic weapons you can get. Like if you kill certain people in that at the start, you completely miss out on some pretty cool iconic weapons.
Yeah. So the couple of playthroughs that I've done all the way to the end, I saved Brick. Right, so at the end, I encountered Brick again, right, because he was talking to Nancy, and that led to hey, you get to leave here without a fight at the Torres, and then I forget, I kept Royce alive, and that kind of did similar right at the end, but now this
It's
one,
it's his buddies. It's Royce's buddies that if you keep them alive, you get there's a chick and a like a Weasley little dude,
yep,
the guy who talks to you during the start Maelstrom mission, the guy who's all like questions you and finds out why you're there
yep,
and all that before Royce shows up and muscles his way into everything. But if you
but
keep him alive, you get a I want to say it's a revolver.
Dum Dum, yeah,
Yeah, you get Dum Dum.
yeah. The
And Tum
next,
Tum is kind of
yeah,
cool.
the next playthrough that I'm currently on, and this is for my Nomad build, is I killed Royce and I killed Brick, and I want to see who I encounter at the end there,
Huh.
right?
I have not gone. I have not killed them both. You know, I
Yeah,
probably should have.
yeah. So,
That
because
would have made more sense for my corporate ninja.
yeah, because I shot Royce, and then I found the detonator, and I was like, oh, let's blow it up and see what happens, But yeah, so right now I'm on that playthrough, and that's probably going to be a while before I get to that final area. So, right, so the main quests, right, is so you encounter. So after the heist, right, so you completed the heist and get screwed over by your wonderful fixer, which
Hmm.
doesn't end well for him either. And you then get to
His
find,
gun's pretty fun too.
yeah, yeah, it is. Then we get to meet and understand the whole Johnny situation, right? He's now an engram in your head trying to kill you,
Yeah,
which to me,
you are now officially yeah, nutsy Fagin. That's the. I think that's the clinical term for it.
yeah. But I thought it was a great use of, okay, what's the next step in Soul Killer, right? Evolution.
I mean, in
'Cause
my games, we were doing that like 20 years ago. We basically after we saw Ghost in the Shell and like and Chrome, I think it was Chrome 2 that introduced the biopod option.
right,
We combined the biopod with Soul Killer and was just like, well, there you go. There's a new body on demand. But the idea of having two personalities in one head, yeah, that was new and interesting. I liked that.
yeah. Yeah, so the next quests were, hooking up with Pan Am and, trying to get, what the hell's his name? I want to say Helsing, but it's not. So the doctor who kind of created the whole soul, save your soul program.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
uh,
So that was,
he's a Weasley little dude.
he is.
I liked punching him in the face a couple of times.
Oh, dude, I wanted to put a bullet in his head the way he was acting. Especially my street kid. He's like, you're a corpo, screw you. That type of
Yeah,
attitude.
exactly. That's how my Nomad felt. Like you're lucky you're mission specific, or I do things to you that would
Yeah.
make your mama weep.
And that kind of ended, or at least not ended, but kind of cut off or diverted the rest of the Pam Am sequence of plays, right? Or sequence of missions, right? Because those turned
Yeah,
into
it
side
put it on
missions.
pause for a little bit. Yeah,
And then I would say the second branch of that main was with Evelyn. And that path with Evelyn was messed up. I mean, granted,
yeah, it was really like some really disturbing things happened to poor Evelyn. I say poor Evelyn, but she kind of. I mean, I'm not one to victim blame, but she was really playing a dangerous, dangerous game, and man, like it was good storytelling, but it
Yeah.
was rough. Like,
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
because that introduced the Voodoo Boys and the
Um,
whole mission with the Voodoo Boys, and yeah,
Ooh, don't get me started on the Voodoo Boys. I don't get why they made the decision to make the Voodoo Boys a Netrunner gang. I'm not sure where that came from. It
Actually,
works in the context of the game. Go ahead.
well, I see it as so. I liked it because with Voodoo you have the low, right, and the spirits of the low technically ride the priestess and priests, right,
Sure.
during ceremonies. So I could see that kind of being a kind of spiritual
I mean,
thing to them.
it's a logical. It's a logical progression, I guess. I just it's a lot different from how the Voodoo Boys how I present the Voodoo Boys in my game.
Right, and I think
So it caught me off guard because they're one of the major gangs that I use.
yep.
Um, but I liked it and I hated it at the same time because man, those are some shady, shady motherfuckers.
Yep. Yeah, I think we already talked about how we view the Voodoo Boys, and that we look at what was it? Oh my God, my brain just went blank. Predator 2 with King Willie, right?
Yeah, Predator 2, King Willie. I mean, you can bring the Loa in, but at the end of the day, King Willie's your boy.
Yeah, I mean, just to do a war story, I actually ran I think it may be a single shot or a couple sessions in which I had the Voodoo Boys being complete voodoo spiritual, and then the Maelstrom were basically a Cthulhu cult, right? And I tried to get Cthulhu punk into that game, which kind of was successful. It's sorry if that's a side
Base
tangent.
Volume 2,
Yeah.
Issue 6.
So the players,
For me, the Maelstrom, I mean, they're how I presented them in the Combat Zone source book. They are just a bunch of borged out fight junkies,
yep,
which I was quite pleased with the way they were presented in the game.
yep.
Other than the weird eye thing that they all seem to have, that just came off as like that's the pinnacle of their visible cyberware is their weird eyes.
Well,
Some of them have some cyber limbs, I guess. But
I think the concept of
it's
people and their, how humans relate to a person or to other sentient creatures, right, is through the concept of eyes and, the face. And I
sure.
think by distorting that, they become non-human, right, and more machine than anything. And I'm thinking
Oh
they
yeah.
were very influenced
I mean,
by the Matrix drones coming in.
yeah, they look a lot like that. Like that was the idea that I got from it. And like I said, it's just a logical projection. I mean, the fact that the Maelstrom and Voodoo Boys and the Valentinos still exist after 70 years, that's cool. Yeah, they're not going to be the same as they were in 2020. That's for sure.
Yep. So the rest of the main mission, basically, once you dealt with Evelyn and the Voodoo Boys and basically got Alt on your side, the main mission really centered around Takamura and getting to meet the wonderful
Takamura
heiress.
is one of my absolute favorite video game NPCs of all time. Like, I wanted to play Takamura.
Yeah.
That dude is utterly badass.
Definitely. Yeah, so that whole play out of Takamura trying to work and get in contact with the heiress, and then trying to basically complete the mission, right?
Little Miss Hanako.
So
Again, another NPC from the 2020 days who's somehow still young and pretty.
yeah,
I mean, Arasaka, it makes perfect sense. Like, all the Arasaka people are young and pretty because, well, they're the richest people on the planet.
well, I mean, if you remember one of the fake advertisement from the CP2020 books, and I forget which resource, I think it might have been Home of the Brave, in which they have that ad of the young woman there, saying, "Oh, you're 86. you can look like this, you
Yeah.
know?
You look like you're 18.
So
I want to say Hawkabout did the art for that one, I think. I
I,
could be
I,
wrong.
I think so too. But like, you know, so for those with the main mission, right? So the heist, I think we kind of glossed over your Nubo and killing his dad.
Oh yeah.
To me, when I saw that, I was like, oh my lord. Number one, he's still
It was
alive.
really shocking to me that they kill Saburo like right off the bat. Like he's the big bad guy that he was presented anyway as the big bad guy that everybody was supposed to be afraid of in 2020. So for them to kill him off like just nothing at the start of the game, man,
Right.
that's like killing Drew Barrymore off in Scream, just right in the opening scene of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think from a Cyberpunk 2020 fan, seeing that, I was like, my jaw was dropped and I like couldn't even touch the controls for like a
That
minute.
did not just happen. Holy
I know.
shit.
Especially with Yorinobu, because, you know, in 2020, he's, you know, the rebel
I
son
mean,
who's trying to kill him.
yeah, he's kind of a good guy in that. Well, not a good guy, but I mean, he's like somebody who would be you would ally yourself with at any rate if you were a edge runner who happened to meet him.
Yep. Yeah, so
Um,
anything else you want to talk about with the main missions? I mean, I thought the parade was very interesting.
oh, the parade is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in a video game. Um, like even if you don't like the game for some reason, whatever, if you can make it to the parade to just sit there and watch it, you will have gotten your money's worth out of this game.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Just speaking of like the art, to me, you know, the price you pay for that game, okay, fine that there's bugs, and I think running on a lower system, again, I'm I'm spoiled,
I mean, I'm
you
yeah,
know.
no, I'm running around right now as we speak, just driving around the city, and there's bugs. Like the frame rate can drop suddenly, and like if you're moving fast, it takes you'll outrun the rendering,
Yes,
which is kind of disappointing. But it doesn't break the game by any chance.
Eh,
You get used to it.
I think some people had the opinion that it did, but you know, again,
If that's what breaks the game for you, then Jesus Christ, would I hate to see the reaction of you picking up any Bethesda game at launch,
yep.
or any Bethesda game like 2 years after its release.
So, is there any other part of the main mission that you felt was kind of like outstanding?
Um, I mean, I loved it. It was very. The main mission itself is pretty railroady, and that's. I would have preferred a few more choices, a few more options on how it plays out. Um, but at the end of the day, you've got basically 3, 4 different options at the end, and they're all completely different outcomes. Some are more traumatic than others, but
So,
they're all good storytelling. Like, do not be afraid to go with your gut.
so you want to talk about the endings now, or and then talk about the side missions and stuff?
I mean, we can talk. We've talked about the main mission. Let's
Yeah,
talk about some side missions because
sure.
that's where the real glory in this game.
Yeah, and I
You
think
come across some just fantastic stories.
yeah, I think they're the two really, you know, ones that stuck in my mind are the Sinner Man, right, with the crucifixion, and the Perelles. And I'm not gonna group up the romance missions with the side missions because I think
Yeah,
they
we'll
are
talk
kind
to
of
them in a
yeah,
minute.
those are
They're their own thing.
separate, yeah. But those are the two ones I really enjoyed. The first playthrough I did with Perez, when you're about to meet him and tell him divulge whether what's going on because his wife told you to shut your mouth and don't say anything. So
I really, really dug that mission.
yeah. So my paranoid cyberpunk mind was like, so after talking with him and telling him, hey, yeah, this is a problem, I had to call like Vic Victor, the romance I had at the time, all of my allies, because I always felt like as a cyberpunk player, who if someone came in and like, called you up and said, hey, we're watching you, those would be the people I'd be
Yeah,
like, oh
that's
crap, I'm endangering these people, and wanting to
yeah,
like say,
exactly.
go to ground,
I
man.
kind of want to like tell everybody, find cover, stay there. I'm going to disappear for a while.
So that
Don't try and find me.
and that's why I love that, because it really brought my experience with playing Cyberpunk 2020 to this game.
My only complaint with the Pirelli mission is I really wanted to keep following up on it. I wanted to see that one to the conclusion. But it felt like they were leaving it off for possible future DLC, and I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that this game does get DLC, and that these whiny little bitches haven't just destroyed the franchise. Because if this game doesn't get a sequel, oh, I'm gonna be so mad. It
Yeah,
deserves a sequel.
it definitely does. But I actually watched another YouTuber who talked about that mission because he was getting into. He also talked about the whole ARG, right? The alter reality game that was going on with Cyberpunk and the various hacking that was going from, clues on their site or their promo thing. And they
Oh
got
yeah,
into what about that mission, because what they did was someone, and I'm not sure if it was that YouTuber or someone else, brought it to his attention. Basically, if you look in the background, you see Mr. Blue Eyes watching the conversation. And for those of you who
oh, I'll
haven't
have to
played
keep an
yet,
eye out
yeah.
for that next time.
So Mr. Blue Eyes is the guy at the two or three of the endings, right? At the end, in which you contract with him.
Yeah, he's
Um,
he's somebody to keep an eye on.
Rook, what your question says? Have they said
Oh crap! I'm not
anything?
looking at
Yeah,
Twitch. I need to
don't
look.
worry about it. That's why I'm here. Have they ever said what that blocked stat is? I don't think they did. Supposedly, there's speculation that it had to do with Johnny and the rep you had with Johnny, but it was very. They still don't know. So
Yeah, it's really vague and like, what the hell is this for?
yeah, but I think in the first or their reveal at was it 2018 E3, they had two stats. One was like body, and the other one was con or something like that. And that's where the sixth stat came in. So it could have been an issue of, hey, we're consolidating these two stats, and we have a blank stat box, right? But who knows? So let's get back to the side missions. So, like I said, the second one was the Sinner Man, which is funny because one of my friends who actually played through the game, he actually like ducked out of the Sinner Man before seeing it through. And
Hmm.
when I told him, "Oh, you didn't play the whole thing," he's like, "No, man, but I kept on seeing these ads for this BD for a crucifixion." And he's like, "That's mind blowing." I'm like, "Dude, if you played through, you would be in that
You
BD."
play the
And he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty intense." So those were kind of my two standout side missions. Uh, did you have any others that you think of that really like
I
loved?
I really dug the Pirelli mission, like you did. Um, Man, I'm trying to think back.
I know there's so many of them.
There's so many. Honestly, I think one of my favorites was I know we were going to talk about romances later,
Yeah,
but doing the thing for River where you chase down the serial killer. That was pretty badass.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was pretty
the
messed up. But again, it definitely tied in with the serial killer. I mean, there was a few like the other one that kind of was kind of messed up was I think it was like a city official's son got murdered, and there was two
Oh
a father and
man, did I take
son.
some retribution on that mission?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, I was so mad about that. I finally get to the end and I shoot the dude's son in the stomach and let him watch him bleed out just because, oh, you sick son of a bitch.
yeah. Van Mon.
Man, yeah, I had kind of repressed that memory. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
that.
this game gets really dark and not in a childish cliche way. Not like it's an adult game, but not in
Yeah,
the. I mean, it is ridiculously over sexualized. Don't get
yeah,
me wrong, but the actual missions are like, dude, some of them are some nightmare fuel.
yeah. Van Mon talks about the Zen Master, which I thought that was a nice takeaway, right?
I dug the Zen Master.
From
Yeah.
doing all this various violence or seeing these dark missions and getting there and being like, hey, come meditate with me. And you're like, okay.
I it was really short, but I liked the mission where you pardon me,
Bless you.
where you meet. Thank you. You meet the monk whose brother has been kidnapped by Maelstrom, and they
Yep.
like stuffed him full of cyber against his will. It's a little short thing, but you come across those guys a couple of times later, and it's nice
Yep.
to see how that turns out. It was just a nice little touch that, and there are so many of those in the game, just these little side missions that may not be very long, but they provide so much like story and flavor and heart to the game.
Yeah.
Um,
The real one that really got me like fed up was Sweet Dreams, in which you do that brain dance with the street guy. I don't know if you completed that, where you wake up naked with the scabs.
yeah, again, some vengeance took place on that one.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that was the problem I
I did like
hated.
that they remembered you, like, hey, this is the guy who fucked us all up earlier.
Yeah, but the guy who sold it to you, the
Oh
adventure
yeah,
basically says, "Oh, you can either let him go or you can let him go." I was like, "Okay," and then he ran away. However, my second playthrough, I was like, "Yeah, I'll let you go." And like as soon as he like turned his back to me,
as
I
soon as he
whipped out my
turns around,
gun.
man,
Yeah, fine. I'll take the
he has
one
no
star.
legs no more. Run on the nubs, run on the nubs.
Yeah, I'll take the one star with the little drones and run away from those, and then rather have you.
Oh yeah, no, I like fighting the cops anyway. It's pretty pointless.
Yep.
That's a minor complaint I've got is fighting the cops in this game is it's ridiculously pointless. Like you can't win that.
Yeah.
You can't even survive it.
Yeah, so I think in our last session we talked about like the gigs and the how the fixers present them. Right, every time you're walking around, you get a call and you can't ignore it. You have to listen to it, and yeah, you might not want to
Oh
get into
god.
the gig at that particular time. Eh,
Yeah, you can be on your way to go do something important for somebody else, and they just won't shut up.
yeah,
And sometimes, if you're not careful, it'll like re redo your objective, so you like suddenly change direction to where you're going. You're like,
yeah,
wait, this isn't where I'm supposed to be.
exactly. So, and then you had the two types of police reports, right? Whether it was disturbance or going off and neutralizing a gang leader.
I'll tell you the one I like the most. I like the the fixer who sends you after the cyber psychos.
Yeah.
Each and every one of those stories is tragic in its own way. Some of them are much more involved than others. Like some of them, you go pretty deep down the rabbit hole. Others, you just show up and all the stuff has already happened. You're basically dealing with like a little mini boss, and that's about it. But like the dude who I want to say it's the scavengers or
Oh, the Maelstrom, where they had the satanic ritual.
no, the one out on the pier where the gang members they like kill the dude's daughter, so
Oh,
he just
right.
goes on a rampage, and like
Yeah, yeah,
you go down this great big long pier and there's just corpses everywhere,
yeah,
and each there's like all these little like story things letting you know exactly what's happened.
yeah,
And like I sympathized with the dude until he started killing civilians, and then I was
yeah.
like, dude, I was on your side up until this point. Now you got to go.
But again, that's the whole thing with cyberpsychosis, right? Is you start losing who's good and who's bad, and they just all become
Oh yeah,
victims. The one that I thought was
I like
kind
the
of
dude out in the country who. Go
good.
ahead.
The one that was in Sixth Street territory, the woman who was I think the wife or the sister, and the family's trying to help
Yeah,
her,
that one was.
and you go into the basement, and wow, you killed your own family because you just gone nuts.
Yeah, that was Bonzo. I mean, it felt dirty and wrong from the very start.
Yep.
The one with the it also takes place on a little pier, but the one with the like soap opera chick whose sister like gets her like steals her face and
Yeah.
then like makes her real ugly and shit, and so that she goes nuts and kills everybody at the wedding
And she just
thing. I was
confuses
just like,
the
this is.
soap opera, like the soap opera with reality. I
Yeah, it's like this is the most soap opera script I've ever seen. They should adapt this.
Well, no, if you read through it, the cyber psycho,
It is a soap opera.
yeah,
Yeah, no, the
she
whole
she
thing was
got
like supposed to
confused
be
with
like
what was
a.
reality and what was soap opera, right? Because I think part of one of the shards basically said that she just went nuts
Yeah,
and
it's
started
like
thinking
a reality show
yeah,
about a soap opera star. So it's like it's some weird meta stuff going on
yeah,
in that one.
right,
The crazy old dude who out in the country who like landmines his property and accidentally kills his family. Like Jesus, dude, you need help.
well, there was two of those guys, two cyber psychos. One had the
Yeah,
farmstead, the other guy was like up in a windmill, and he had all the mines
yeah,
around
that
him with a
dude who
sniper.
like took out all the raff and shiv around him and stuff.
Yeah,
That dude was pretty badass.
yeah. So I know we're
But I
probably
mean, all of it felt organic to the world. Like none of it felt contrived
yep,
or cliche. Really, even it felt like, hey, this could happen here.
yep. Yeah, and a rook about the big mech dude. That was an interesting fight.
I love the big mech dudes. Like those are your classic cyber psycho villains right there. Those are the guys you're terrified of. The other guys are mostly like just regular dudes who just like overdid it a little bit with cybernetics. And then there's the true like 800-pound monsters that are just going to destroy everything. I like that. There's like one out in the middle of nowhere, and then there's one guy who works at a garage or a construction site or something. It's good
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah. So let's get into the romance missions. Out of the four of them,
And M's my girl.
I actually liked Judy, just because that whole underwater scene, and
The underwater scene was incredible. I really enjoyed that part.
yeah,
It felt completely like it felt like it needed like it felt like it belonged in the game,
yep,
but it was so unexpected and so different from anything else that had come before it or after, that it was a nice, refreshing bit. The only complaint I have about that is that you don't get to keep the scuba suit and go scuba diving anywhere else.
Yeah.
I feel like they missed an opportunity with that.
Yeah, and all the oxygen tanks you acquire throughout the whole mission, it's like, I've been in the water and it's very murky and dark and I don't know what's out there, but I don't want to spend, 50 hours swimming around looking for maybe something out there. I mean, granted, I have the oxygen
Yeah.
to do it, but I just never got to it.
It's just not the same.
Yeah, so
Like I mean, it's a role playing game. I want to wear the scuba gear for my scuba swimming.
yeah,
I want to be able to put it on whenever I want and jump into water.
right. So for me, listing out the ranking, right? To me, Judy, I think, was my number one. Carrie was actually a great romance story. Then I would say Pam Am and then River. Because I don't know, for some reason, River just, I don't know, not attracted to him.
No, Pan Am for me is number one. I loved Pan Am. I would have followed her through the gates of hell. I mean, it didn't hurt that when we first meet her, we're basically just introduced to her butt.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm sorry about how misogynistic that sounds. I apologize, but what can I say? I'm an ass man.
Yeah.
Also, I think she's the most altruistic NPC you meet in the game. Like, she's really just there to help her clan, to help you. She doesn't really act selfishly in any way, except that she wants her car back, and I get that.
Yep.
Like, I would want that truck back too. It's a badass truck. Judy is ridiculously cute, but she doesn't give a damn about you. She is a manipulator. Everything she gets you to do benefits her. She's not helping you at all. Like, she softens up later, and don't get me wrong, she genuinely loves Evelyn.
Yep.
She is all about the Moxie. She will do whatever she can to help them. But I don't know. Like, I never trusted Judy that she actively gave a damn about me. Now, I haven't played through as a character who could romance her yet. Like,
Right.
I'm in the middle of that playthrough now, so we'll see.
Right.
I liked River. Although of all the people, I wasn't gonna romance him personally, but I mean, the storyline itself, he's the only one who actually like kind of creeped me out. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
some reason, something about his demeanor just creeped me right out.
see, my problem, that probably could be my age, is he just reminded me of, like, those 70s pimps.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. That's exactly the vibe I was getting from him. Like, dude, you're kind of sleazy.
Yeah.
Carrie, all his interactions seemed really genuine.
Yep.
He seemed like, somebody who's seen it all, who's done it all, and had very little genuine connection to anybody in his life. And that resonated. I like that. I like that storyline aspect of
Yep.
it. Plus, he gives me my favorite gun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so for me, like with Pan Am, I would agree with you, except, and this is going to lead into the ending missions. My problem with her was at the ending mission, when you're trying to have that, that last call with her, and you're like, hey, I might be leaving for a while, and she just like blows up on you, like, who the fuck are you? Why are you doing this to me? You know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm like, whoa. I'm trying to be
I get
serious
so.
with
It
you.
sounds like you're breaking up with her.
Yeah.
It
sure.
sounds like you're telling her that you don't want to see her anymore, and I get that. Like, it comes across as bitchy on her part, but it makes sense. and like she immediately comes to your aid. Like, where
Sure.
are you?
Yeah.
I'll
Sure.
be there in the morning. You just stay put and stop talking stupid.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, that's okay by me. Like, she cares.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I've had in past relationships someone who's like that, which kind of was a red
Yeah,
flag.
yeah, I can see that too. I've definitely been with some wackadoos in my time.
Yeah.
I to the extreme scale.
Yeah.
Um, I tell you who I wanted to romance more than anybody in the game though, and that was Claire, the
Yeah.
bartender.
I have to agree
Like
with you, man.
she is adorable.
Yep.
She's got the best smile in the game. She's a little crazy too. Her whole vengeance aspect with the car races is it'll throw up some red flags,
Yep.
but I still think she's like, I don't know, she's just adorable. I very much wanted to romance her.
Yeah.
My only real complaint with the romances is that once you complete the romance quest, like it's just over.
Yep.
Like you don't get to revisit. Um, I am not someone who really cares about sex in a video game, but it's not something you get. It feels weird that you can't revisit any kind of intimacy with these characters after you have like won their heart.
Right.
It feels kind of cheap and misogynistic to just, or not misogynistic, just
Or have
like a
quests
Lothario,
afterwards.
like,
You know.
yeah, like I knocked the boots. Now it's time to move on to the next thing.
Right.
Um,
And to me, I think that whole aspect with Judy, when you had, the underwater thing right before it, you're like, okay, why can't you have a similar, date type of experience or mission? Maybe, you get attacked by gangers during it and, that gives you the action. But yeah, that was the one disappointment I had is, once you're done, the only
like you can
time.
go visit them. You can go see like Pan Am at her camp, or you can go see.
Yep.
Like Judy will hang out in her apartment, even though it says she's on the road. You can find her in her apartment.
Yeah.
But it just nothing happens. Like
Yeah.
they barely acknowledge you.
And then the revisit is basically at one of the endings, right? So we can get into that. We're at, I think, 10 of, so we should be able to finish on time. Yeah, so the endings, right? So what are the four
Oh,
endings? Sun, Moon, Devil, and I forget the fourth one. So for those who haven't played through them, you have the choice of selling out, kind of selling out to Arasaka. You have the Storm Arasaka, two versions of that. And then you have the Storm
yep.
Arasaka with the Nomads, right?
That's basic gist.
Yeah.
There's you storm Arasaka for yourself.
Yeah.
You storm Arasaka on Johnny's behalf,
Yep.
and you storm Arasaka on behalf of Hanako.
Yep.
And then you and the nomads, that's the yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so which one did you like out of all of them? I think I
I
know
liked
which
them
one
all,
it is.
but I mean, I'm definitely gonna. I definitely chose the Nomad one as this is my canon ending. This is the ending I'm leaving off on with my character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the other ones are great. I really like doing the Hanako one, but the way it ends is just so depressing.
Yeah. Did you have
Uh,
the or Takamura at the end, or did you have the doctor?
I had the doctor.
Yeah.
No, I had Takamura. You're right.
Yep.
And that was kind of satisfying on its own right. Um, but it's so very bleak.
Yep.
Um, I liked the one where I like the ending where you can choose to just continue to be a badass solo, and
Yep.
the ending scene where you go into space and all that
Yep.
on your own. Like that is some yeah, I very much enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
But
And that's when the romance comes into play, right? At that ending. Um, the
that's
when you're
I mean there's a romance that does come into play there. Um and it's cool, but it's not as cool as the as the Nomad ending.
yeah. The one thing I noticed was that if you romance either female, right, Pan Am or Judy, and you become king queen of the afterlife, both of them leave you, even though
Yeah.
your time is short, right? Because they want out of the city. Versus doing the nomad, both of them will
Well,
join
I
you.
mean, they don't just want out of the city; they want out of the life.
Yeah.
And I mean that's the ultimate goal of most cyberpunk characters, or at least it should be, is I want a better life for myself. And
Yep.
you realizing that you're not gonna get that at all. I mean, your character just decides, hey, I'm gonna go out on my terms by being the biggest badass I can possibly be.
Right. And the playthroughs with River and Carrie, if you stay in the city, they stay with you, which I thought was
I never
interesting
actually
dynamic.
successfully. I've got a female character who will uh, successfully romance. I think River can go for a chick.
Yep. So River's
Um,
hetero. So River and Pan Am are hetero, and
well, River's not hetero because he also tries to get it on with the dudes. I think River's bi.
did he? I never tried with the male
Um,
character. I thought it was hetero.
he definitely wants a piece of your male character. I'm
Oh,
not sure if he wants a piece of your female character. I think he does though.
yeah, he does. I can
Uh,
confirm that.
Carrie is not hetero.
Correct.
Uh, so I think my corporate ninja will try and try that aspect. Um, it's a video game. I
Yep.
don't I don't care.
I
Uh,
I know. Some people do. Some people.
I'm actually yeah. Some people get really squicked out by that.
Yeah.
I
Is
don't
it?
know. I'm personally I'm glad to see that things are progressing to the point uh, where this kind of thing is possible.
Yep.
Like even 10 years ago, this would have been unheard of. Um,
Well, in a video
so
game,
kudos to them.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
I
I,
mean, you wouldn't see it in a video game. You wouldn't see it in a mainstream movie. You
yep.
just wouldn't see it anywhere outside of like some weird niche audiences.
Yeah, and not to get into the
Um,
whole subject, but to me, my first experience, especially from an LGBTQ aspect of having that in game, was with uh, Forlorn Hope, right, in which you have the trans solo.
yeah, Forlorn Hope, the bartender of Forlorn Hope, is trans, which is actually kind of. I mean, they make reference to that with Claire. It's just a little throwaway line, but she mentions that she went through transition surgery.
Yeah, so Vampire Bites.
It didn't stop me from wanting to romance her in the slightest,
Yeah,
to be honest.
Vampire Bites says River is hot. They just made the mistake of using the same lead up dialogue for male V and female V. If you try a
Did
gay
they
romance with River, he shoots you down.
really?
Yeah.
Because he definitely tries to kiss me on the water tower as my
Um,
nomad. Like he definitely like leans in for it. I'm like, no, dude, you creep me out. Not because you're
interesting.
gay, just because you creep me out, you sleazy pimp like a mother. It does make the game more immersive,
Yeah.
Brooke.
Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the things, and I know we're getting close to end time, so yeah, and I agree with you. I think the best to me ending was with the Nomads, right? Because it's one of the happier endings, right? Because
I mean, your character still thinks he's gonna die, but it's not so fucking bleak.
right.
Like he's got a little bit of hope. Like we're just gonna see where it goes.
Yep.
And I dig that. Plus the whole thing where you're like riding on the hood of the tank as it's going across the water.
Yep. And I think
I
with
mean,
with the Nomad, right? That whole build up to the Nomad is you're becoming part of
yeah.
the family. So which is
And they
nice.
play
Yeah.
when they play the female cover of Fade Away or
Yep.
Never Fade Away over that scene, man, tears were coming down my eyes. It's good stuff. Like
So
it is expert storytelling.
yeah. So what did you think of letting Johnny take the body, or did you?
It's my least favorite ending.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like Johnny Silverhand. I've never liked Johnny Silverhand. Um, as much as I love Keanu Reeves, even that guy can't make me like Johnny Silverhand. So the idea of him taking over my body and him getting to have a happy ending, it irks me.
Right.
Uh,
But to me, it didn't seem like he was happy at that ending. Um,
well, I mean, he's Johnny Silverhand. He's a cynical little asshole. He's never going to be happy no matter what.
True, but I think that whole, the whole main story and the whole story in general was that, yes, in the beginning he was that character, but because and again, like you mentioned with Ghost in the Shell, some of your V's personality merged into Johnny, right? And
Yeah.
turned him into a better person, I think, in the end. I mean, granted, it's still a kind of a dick move to take the body, but
Yeah. I mean, I liked him going to I liked the fact that he, paid tribute. He went to their little grave niches and, uh, dropped some keepsakes off.
yep.
But, yeah, no, I don't like Johnny Silverhand. He's way too much of a narcissist.
All right, so that's pretty much, I think, our evaluation of the missions. Is there anything that you think we missed?
I don't think we missed anything. I mean, I could literally go on for the next several hours talking about the missions in this game, especially the
Yeah.
side missions.
Yeah, I could pull
But
up the wiki and just start going through. Oh yeah, this one.
oh yeah, the fact that all the missions in the game are named after songs, that to me struck a chord. I liked that.
I did not
Nice
notice
little
that.
Easter egg. Every single mission
Huh.
you do is named after a song, usually a punk rock song.
Huh.
Um, yeah, pay attention to that the next time you're playing. It's pretty bitchin', especially if you play the game in your head, like who sang that song, what album's it from, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's good stuff.
Huh.
Next time, I definitely want to set aside time to talk about my favorite NPCs.
Okay. So we'll talk about the NPCs next time. One little thing I think we wanted to try doing a small segment and of just tips and tricks for like playing Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk Red. And yes, we saved it to the end to give you the juicy bits so you could actually listen all the way through. So
Oh yeah, here's where for the grognard
yes.
speak up.
So one of the things, or tips or tricks, and things that I use in my games, and it's kind of more of a recent thing. I know on my site I have my luck point system, right, in which you can purchase crits and buy rerolls for fumbles with your luck points, right? The other aspect I use luck for within the game is to, and I believe, some other GMs have mentioned this, is to actually use it as a mechanism for randomness or chance within your game, right? So, perfect example for me was a couple weeks ago. One of my players decided, "Hey, I'm going to start heading down into the combat zone to go and basically search for a shop to set up because he's a techie and he's looking for a place to basically set up a shop for free, right? So my gut feeling is, okay, you're going to start walking down the combat zone, make a luck save, right? Which is, roll a d10 and get either to your luck or below it. And if you don't, then something bad's going to happen. And, make a couple of those rolls for, every hour you decide to stay in the combat zone. And, it did not end well. Well, it actually ended well. He did survive, but he did encounter some nasties. Luckily, he was able to get his stealth rolls going and was able to escape the situation. But that's another aspect. And I pull it, and I think, Derek, you mentioned that, that this fate system has that type of system. I actually was pulling it from the Call of Cthulhu with their luck stat and how it's used there. So
It's good stuff.
Yeah, so if luck is not just take points and buy skills from a GM point of view, because what happens, and I've seen this a lot of times, is players just use it as a dump stat because they don't think it's
I see that a lot too. To the point that in my games, like you don't apply your. I give characters an allotment of points to spend on their stats. Luck is not one of the stats they get to spend points on. After they've spent all their points, I then have them roll for luck, and they just take whatever the dice gives them. Because I'm tired of seeing luck as a dump stat.
Yep.
So it solves the problem.
Yes.
For the most part, I keep luck the same way though as the book describes. You can use it to affect the outcome of a roll, like up or down. But you have to declare that you're using luck before you roll the die. You can also, if you've declared luck, you can spend a point of luck to overthrow a fumble. Basically, it just becomes a 1. But beyond that, I like your idea of using it to affect like the dramatic moment of the game, like Fate or Cthulhu. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a good way to bring that into the game without it.
And it's especially kind of nail biting for the players because they've used luck, right? And when I say, hey, you need to make a luck save, and they're like, oh crap, I only have 3 points left.
Yeah.
It kind of sets their tension a little higher, which is always a good thing as a GM for Cyberpunk.
It is. That's a good tip. I like that.
Yeah.
Because people definitely half the time they forget luck even exists.
Yeah.
So anything to remind them that it's there is probably a good thing.
Yep. So do you have a tip or trick, or you want to do that for next time?
I mean, give me some time to think on that.
Okay.
Because really, I'm just going to point to my rules rewrite, Interlock Unlimited, and just say, hey, there's all my tips and tricks right there in one convenient place.
Yep.
But to narrow it down to individual ones, man, that could take almost as long as me talking about missions in Cyberpunk 2077.
Nice. All right, so I think that's going to conclude this second episode. So remember, I'm Cybersmily. You can come to my site at cybersmily.net.
I am Wisdom. You can come visit me at Datafortress2020.com and programmers, I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And again, thanks to Cyberpunk Uncensored, cyberpunkuncensored.com. This is their Twitch channel, and we appreciate Rob's help with all this. So all of you have a good evening, and we'll see you again.